if you're minimally smart, you can learn a workshop one day before the workshop because mostly it's moving post-its around. But that's not going to make you a top tier facilitator that everyone wants to work with. That is like the lowest level of a value of a facilitator is learning how to do specific types of workshops. The absolute highest value facilitators are just like, hey everyone, what's up? I'm Jonathan from AJ&Smart, and today I'm just kind of doing a random hangout. It's just kind of an experiment across the Facilitator Club and Inner Circle mentorship communities. So yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, this is where we think facilitation is going in the long term, and it's what we're calling our system for it is ECS. But basically, it's this idea that you cannot plan. You have to have a system that can work in any situation. For anybody who plays video games, the way that I explain this to my team, there are video games where you just move from A to B and you just have to shoot things and everything is planned out. And if it doesn't work, you just go back a step and you keep going and you just keep shooting things, whatever. And then there are other video games, which are like open world video games. If anyone knows, like Zelda, Breath of the Wild or something like that, where you're just dropped into a world. Stuff is happening and you can't really predict what's going to happen because the AI is all kind of, working with the environment. And the way facilitation has been thought up until now, the way we see it, is that it's preparing you for really pre-scripted environments, which are not that chaotic and not that emergent. Whereas the way the way real life works is that it's very chaotic and you never know what's going to happen. For example, let's say you've planned a 2-day workshop with your client. It's going to be a strategy workshop. 5 people are turning up and everyone seems fine before you have the meeting. You go to run the workshop. You've got all your exercises ready. 8 people turn up. The person who booked you doesn't turn up until halfway through the first day. And 3 of the people actually who were supposed to be there in person now turn up only on Zoom. Now, there's 2 types of facilitators at AJ&Smart. There's the type of facilitator where when this happens and I see the emails from the client, I'm like, yeah, no problem. That person at AJ&Smart is not going to be bothered by this because they are really flexible. They're really able to adapt to any situation. And they're generally an optimistic person who can just make the client feel like this is not a big deal and we'll still get through it. And then there's the person where when I'm looking at the email, I'm like, oh shit, they're going to freak out. They're going to have a panic attack. And they're going to call me within the next hour asking me what type of workshop we should run now that it's all changed. And the person who can adapt on the fly and isn't really shaken by it, we call it an unshakable facilitator. Just internally, we're saying this is someone who's unshakable. This person I can send anywhere. I can send them on a company retreat. I can send them on a design sprint. It actually doesn't matter. The client can just say, we want to do a growth workshop 2 days beforehand. There's going to be like 30 people. I'm like, yeah, whatever, send this person. Whereas the other type of person, I would need to sit down and teach them the workshop. And even though they could then run that workshop, they won't know how to then create something from scratch the next time or the next time or the next time. So it's the difference between like learning from memorizing and completely embodying a way of being as a facilitator. And the best facilitators are the ones who don't give a shit about workshops because they know they can learn. Like if you're minimally smart, you can learn a workshop one day before the workshop because mostly it's moving post-its around, right? There's not that much to it. But that's not going to make you a top tier facilitator that everyone wants to work with because it makes you more like an AI who remembers stuff. And, there's all of these different pieces of software out there that will do the job better than you. Like Mural and Butter and all of these things. Mural? I haven't used Mural in ages. Those products are basically helping people not forget how to run different types of exercises. Like LDJ, design sprints, business model canvas, all of this kind of stuff. But that is not where the value is. That is like the lowest level of a value of a facilitator is learning how to do specific types of workshops. The absolute highest value facilitators are just like unshakable, very enjoyable for the team to be around. And the thing that I spoke about the last time in our last training was they take the burden of collaboration off of the team so the team can do what they are supposed to do. So when a team is coming together to come up with a new product or to come up with a new strategy or to come up with a new direction, instead of that team having to argue and figure out where their place is in the hierarchy and figure out how to do the conversation, how to debate, the facilitator takes all of that annoyance and pain and heaviness off of them and helps them just focus on what they are good at. Designer, you can focus on being a good designer. Strategist, you can focus on being a good strategist. Nobody here needs to be a great debater or conversationalist. I'm going to take that burden. And if you can take that burden as a facilitator, they will want you back over and over and over again. If you add burden to them by telling them that they have to do some very specific thing with Post-its, without understanding that your role is to remove the burden. I'm not saying Post-its are bad. We still use them every single day and every part of AJ&Smart is plastered in them. But those are just the tools that you're going to be using to help visualize conversations, to help sequence conversations, and to take the burden off of the group of people that you're working with. And that's our role as a facilitator. It's to remove the burden. It's to make things easier. We talked about it in the last training and then in the recent trainings. The word facilitation comes from the, and I always forget, Latin word facile, which just means to make easy. It's not that you're there to remember processes. It's not that you're there to remember, we're going to use 3 dots or 2 dots. You're there to make the collaborative situation that you've been brought in to help with easier. You're there to make it feel easy for the team. And if a team can say, you know what? Every time I work with Heidi, it just feels so easy. There's so little friction in the team. Then when Heidi goes away, we hate each other again. But that's fine because, you know, you're not there to be a culture changer. That's not our job. But every time Heidi's here, it just flows and it just feels so easy. So let's bring her in every time something annoying needs to happen, like getting loads of stakeholders in the room to make an important decision. And then let's find someone else to help us do like conflict resolution and all of these other things. Like this is what you don't want, but it's actually counterintuitive. You don't want them to say, we get so much done when Heidi is here, but it's such a pain in the ass and it's so difficult. Like that's what people used to say about AJ&Smart when they would do design sprints with us. They would say, yeah, we get so much done. It's so like we're super productive, but it's also like really like the team is so tired after it. And what we learned is that's great if everything is just about productivity, which we thought it was, but it isn't all about productivity. It's also about making people actually enjoy what they do. So the big change at AJ&Smart over the last year, you'll see that reflected on the AJ&Smart, the new announcement video that I put on AJ&Smart back in October, is that we're trying to bring joy and creativity back to people's work by removing the burden of bad collaboration from them. And we're not just obsessed with productivity anymore, even though part of the sales pitch to the person who books us is, look, we're going to get all of this stuff done that would normally take months and a few days. But the new thing is when we go in, we're not trying to burden them with 1,000 exercises they have to remember. We're just trying to sequence conversations, visualize conversations, keep the conversations flowing, keep the friction low while still getting good results, and just make it an enjoyable, memorable experience so they want to have us back again. So yeah, that's a big part of the new AJ&Smart and the new positioning to our clients as well. Why did I go on that rant? What was that about? I can't remember why I started talking about that. But that's like a big part of that's ECS. These are the books you get at our in-person training. You get this one, but then you get this beast. This is more like the tactical stuff, like all of the exercises and all of the things to have in your back pocket. But the gold is really here, and it's really about the first principles of facilitation and the first principles of being just very useful to a team of people and very, so that people actually want to have you there. It's just something we've learned. It's like, oh yeah, if people want me to be in the room, then they book us more. Turns out.